Group. JW, good evening to you. How different are these masks from each other?
Hello, Stephen. Yes, I think there's a common misperception in the market on the performance of masks. I think a lot of people assume that the performance of a cloth face mask would be something in the line of a FFP2, like the Eggink mask, or an N95. And I think that's also caused by, the misunderstanding of the purpose of the mask. The purpose of these masks, the cloth face masks, are to prevent the spread, not to protect the wearer necessarily. So I think distributors' claims also fuel the fire, where a lot of people put claims on their masks or on packaging that mislead the consumer. But as you said, there's a lot of different masks in the market out there, a lot of different fabric masks, sponge masks, and even though there's so many different options out there, there's no empirical evidence to prove which of those are actually better than the other. That's in lack of standard test methods, etc., globally. One of the main things that we do follow is we do follow the guidelines set out by the DTIC. The DTIC and the WHO, they mirror one another. And I think the important thing is putting a filter in your mask. So that's basically where the differentiation comes from on these face masks.
Okay, I mean, some people will just sort of follow the thing that the cheaper it is, the worse it is, the more expensive it is, the better it is. Is that a useful guide or not really?
Sorry, I lost you there for a second, Stephen.
Some people will believe the more expensive it is, the better it is, the cheaper it is, the worse it is. Is that a good guide?
No, I wouldn't say there's any difference in the ones that we've done some investigation on. The major thing comes in where you have masks with replaceable filters. That filtration media, like for instance a Respiratex or some non-woven fabric that goes in that's replaceable, that's where you can differentiate between these masks. When it comes to the more expensive is the better, not at all. It has to do with your comfort, with your filtration. Your filtration has to do with how many layers, what the gauge of the fabric is, etc. And then also you're looking at your breathability. So obviously there's a play between your filtration and your breathability.
So most people are wearing cloth masks. You can reuse them. They're relatively cheap. I can get them pretty easily. I can make one myself if I have to. And most of us are not going into a hospital. But how much protection then? And I appreciate what you say, that the cloth mask is to stop the spread. But how much protection do you get from a cloth mask compared to, one of these medical high-grade masks?
Well, to tell you, the World Health Organization recommends that the masks with filters, in other words, the reusable mask with a filter, that goes from a 5 to a 10 micron, whereas if you're wearing an N95 or a FFP2, that's a 0.3 micron protection that you have. So it's